Hi guys, Mel here from Starlight Haven Psychic Medium. Just thought I'd have a little bit of a chat today about who I am and what I'm all about and how I came to be and what I do. I have written a book that is available on Amazon. It's called Beyond Our World. It's a little bit of everything for people. So there's things in here about meditation, crystals, tarot, angels, your chakras, famous mediums, psychometry, development circles, what is a medium. So it's a really good book for somebody starting out. As I say, you can buy it on Amazon or you can buy it direct from me. So I'm a psychic medium and I work from the Waikato, from home. I do spiritual healing, I do Reiki healing, I do readings, I do house blessings, house cleansings. Some of you may have seen our other channel, Psychic Paranormal New Zealand. So I decided to start this one so that, especially with COVID, people don't have to come to courses. I think there's still a fear of gathering in big groups of people and learning. So I thought, well, what would be really good was if I could help people learn through the power of the internet. So I'm going to do some classes in the upcoming months about your chakras and about meditation and protection and grounding and everything that I usually teach in a workshop. But I will give you a little bit of a vlog, I guess, if you like, about me, and I'll just read you a little passage at the start of my book. So from an early age I began to see spirits around me. I could see them as clear as I could see myself in a mirror. To me, they were just normal, real people, and I didn't realise that no one else could see them. As children, we're all born with psychic abilities. However, as we progress in life, we tend to shut these abilities away. And it's very true, children and animals are still very open to spirits, but society closes us down as we grow. So I did this for 10 years. I shut them away, and I chose not to believe in anything like that. And I was reading a book at about the age of 18 which had an article about spiritualist churches in it. Their creed was there is no death. Now that to me was a really unusual statement, and I wanted to find out more about it. So I went along to my first spiritualist meeting. During the service, I was amazed to see people in the congregation crying, as they were given messages from people they could recognise of having passed away. I needed to find out how these people on stage were able to connect with people who had died, and why no one was scoffing them or thinking that they were frauds. So after visiting the church, I began to find many books and items to do with spirituality. I didn't know where to start. I couldn't get enough information. I needed more and more and more. So I joined a development circle to enhance my abilities and bring back the images and feelings that I'd forgotten. Every week we would learn about different aspects of spirituality. Some of these topics made a lot of sense to me, especially when I look back on what I sensed when I was younger. Other aspects were totally new to me and took a lot of hard work to understand them. My first spiritual experience that I can remember, I would have been maybe about 5, and a lady used to visit me every night. Every night she would come to me and we would chat and we would talk about everything that was going on. I had a bit of a hard time then, and so in my childhood, and so she was a big help to me, and I just assumed everybody had a lady like this that came to them. And then, as I say, society took over and I shut it down. Then when I was probably a teenager, I remember going home one day and Mum was at one end of the house in the kitchen, and I walked through the house and I saw this man sitting in the lounge and the stereo was playing. And I walked down to the kitchen and I says to Mum, "Oh, who's that man sitting in the lounge?" She said, "What man?" So we both went back into the lounge together, and the stereo was unplugged, so there's no way it could have been going, and there was nobody there. So I described him to Mum, and we went and had a look at some photo albums. And it turned out he was a great-grandfather that I didn't know. I couldn't explain it. So that freaked me out quite a lot. Then I started to tell people at school, guess what I saw, and got made fun of a lot. But just, yeah, you don't see things like that. And back then we didn't talk about it, even if you did. Now, like, my children are very lucky. They're brought up spiritually. They've been brought up all their lives spiritually. They know that mum sees and hears ghosts, and while two of them decide not to follow that path, one of them is very spiritual and also has the ability to see and hear spirit. So anyway, so that sort of shut me down for a little while, because, you know, society and everyone was telling me, no, you're just making up lies, it's ridiculous. So my next experience wasn't until we bought a house in a suburb in Wellington, in Karori. And it was a grand house. It was 2-storied, it had a big ballroom, it was a beautiful, beautiful house. My father was a photographer, a very famous photographer, and so he did a lot of work from home, and it had this dark room that he could process all his films in. Anyway, every time I used to have to go into the dark room or go into the ballroom where the freezer was kept, I could always feel someone watching me, and somebody who had their eyes on me, and it was just a horrible, horrible feeling. And I just didn't like the house at all. I'll read you another little extract from my book. So from the moment we moved into the house, strange things began to happen. We used to have our freezer kept in the ballroom, as it was too large for the kitchen. Every night my mother would ask me to go out and get the ice cream out of the freezer for dessert. The light switch was situated over the other side of the room, so to turn it on, you had to walk a wee way in the dark. I always used to feel that someone was watching me, and I'd run to turn that light on. At the time, I thought I must have been imagining things, and that it was just the dark playing tricks on me. I still didn't like the feeling that I got. After about 3 months, I mentioned it to my older sister. She said that she too had felt someone was watching her every time she went into that room. The room was always cold, even though the sun got on it. The house had a winding staircase going upwards, obviously. And even though it was a glorious staircase and the sun always hit it, this green moss always seemed to grow on it. No matter how many times we cleaned it, it would return the next day. One night, while lying in bed, I could hear crying coming from my sister's room, and I thought maybe she'd had a nightmare, and I ignored it for a while. After about an hour and a half, and still going on, I began to be worried that there was something wrong. I was too scared to get out of my bed, so I yelled out to my parents, who were in the next room, as to why she was crying. My mother came in and told me I must have been hearing things, as my sister was away for the night, staying at a friend's house. I know I heard that crying very clearly, and I was now wide awake. After my mother had left the room, I lay awake for ages waiting to hear the crying again, but no more came. I remember it had been a young girl's cry, probably at around 6 or 7 years of age. My sister at that time was 13, yet I wanted to believe it was her crying, rather than knowing that there was someone there crying that I couldn't see. After about 2 years of living in that house, my parents finally conceded that they too had felt someone's presence in that house, and that there had been a lot of strange goings on. They decided to call in a priest from the Catholic Church, as we were brought up Catholics. I'm now a spiritualist, but I was brought up a Catholic. So they called in the local priest from the church to do an exorcism. Now, I had no idea what that word even meant. The priest arrived, and we started going around from room to room, while the priest sprayed holy water and said the Lord's Prayer. At the side of the ballroom was a dark room that my father, who as I said was a photographer, used to develop his films. As the priest came into this room, he suddenly froze. We could all feel like hundreds of eyes were watching us. Some gave you the feeling of safety, while others gave you a feeling of fear. The priest stood for a long time saying prayers. Suddenly, my sister screamed loudly and started shaking and crying. I I asked her what on earth was going on, as I was already frightened. She explained to us all that as the priest was chanting, she felt someone or something go right through her body that was evil and horrible. She said it felt very cold, like ice, going right through her body. We decided we'd done enough for the day and thanked the priest. He stated that this was also a new experience for him, and he didn't really know what to say. None of us knew at the time what was going on or what had happened, but suddenly the house seemed lighter and started to smell fresh again. My parents decided to put the house on the market for sale. The quiet lasted about a month, and just before we left that house, we all felt the coldness returning. First came the bad smells, and then the whispering that could be heard in all the rooms. The distressed child crying again, and back came the moss and the horrible eyes boring down on you in the ballroom. My parents sold this house soon after. I know we were all very glad to be leaving that house forever. That was the start of my spiritual experience. So as I say, I went on to join the Spiritualist Church and join a development circle for many, many years. We met every single week for many years, learning how to meditate, learning how to contact my spirit guides, learning what a spirit guide was. Then after several years of sitting in circle, I was asked to take my own group and to teach people, which I did. And then I became a platform worker on the Spiritualist Church platforms. Loved it, absolutely loved it. And I do miss it. I haven't done it for a long time now because I moved away. But I still do readings, and as I say, I do everything that goes with that. So guys, I thought I'd just give you a little bit of an update, a little bit of a blog about who I am. I am going to also do a session with cards and let you know all the different cards I use. So I do use the good old Rider-Waite tarot deck. I have lots of cards that I use. I have beautiful crystal cards, crystal angel cards that I use. I also use these beautiful cards as well, and I just love the gold that's on them all. So we'll do a few readings with these cards as well. I also use angel cards. Angel cards are beautiful. At the end of a reading, when I have a client, I always make them pick an angel card at the end. Doreen Virtue, I love her cards, so I also use her Angel Therapy Oracle cards. Work Your Light cards. Now these have just arrived. I used these many years ago, and so these are just arrived, so we're going to open them together at some stage. So, you know, I'm a psychic medium, and not all psychics are mediums, and not all mediums are psychics. So the difference is basically a psychic can read your aura. We all have an energy field around us. They can read your aura, see the colours. They can pick up on things. They can psychically read you. We use tools like, as I say, cards, ruins, numerology, pendulums. They're all a tool, and they help us connect, and I find the clients really enjoy it when I do use some of my tools. Dowsing rods, I have dowsing rods as well. So a medium can see and hear those that have passed. Like that Sixth Sense movie, I see dead people. So all mediums are psychics, but not all psychics are mediums. So I hope you enjoyed this, guys. It's just a little bit of an introduction to me and to my channel, and I will be doing more videos. I do have another job at the moment, which I finish in November, to go full-time, back to being a full-time medium. So I'll be able to upload regularly. And as I say, one of the first uploads I'll do is we'll go through the cards and have a bit of a play with those. And then I'd like to teach you all stuff like grounding and protection and meditation and how to live a spiritual life. There's a lot of people out there that are spiritualists, but they don't follow a spiritual life at all. So just remember, guys, be kind to one another, take care, and until next time, all the best. God bless.